My friends, there is a strength that rises only when people stand together. No challenge is too great when a community decides that every life within it matters. Sexual health is not a private struggle carried by one person alone. It is a shared responsibility, a bond that connects us as families, as neighbors, and as a society determined to protect its future. When we choose to look out for one another, when we replace judgment with compassion and silence with support, we transform fear into unity and vulnerability into power. Today, I urge each of you to recognize that your choices can safeguard not only your own life, but the lives of countless others around you. When we work together, when we spread awareness, when we encourage testing, protection, and open conversation, we create a shield far stronger than anything one person could build alone. This is how communities rise, not through isolation, but through unity, understanding, and the courage to care for one another. Knowledge is one of the most powerful forms of freedom we can ever possess. In every society, in every generation, there are forces that threaten our well-being, not because they are unstoppable, but because we do not speak of them openly. Sexual transmission is one of those forces. It thrives in silence, in shame, and in the gaps where understanding should exist. But when we choose to learn, when we choose to open our eyes to the truth of how infections spread and how they can be prevented, we take back control of our lives in ways that shape our futures forever. To understand is not to fear. It is to rise above fear. When we know what puts us at risk, we gain the power to change our behavior, to protect ourselves, and to stand firm in the face of dangers that once seemed overwhelming. Knowledge gives us clarity, it gives us confidence, it strengthens our choices and deepens our responsibility. It allows us to say, I will not let ignorance determine my future. I will not let silence endanger my life or the lives of those I care for. Education about sexual transmission is not a lesson reserved for classrooms or clinics. It is a message for every home, every family, every young dreamer who deserves the chance to grow up healthy and unafraid. When we take time to understand how infections move from one person to another, how protection works and why regular testing matters, we lift a shield not only for ourselves, but for our entire community. We create a barrier of awareness that saves lives long before illness can take hold. There is dignity in learning. There is courage in asking questions, in seeking the truth, in choosing to be informed even when the topic feels uncomfortable. True strength is not in pretending to know, it is in the willingness to grow. And when we grow together, we become a society capable of breaking harmful cycles and replacing them with healthier, wiser patterns. Knowledge also brings compassion. When we understand the realities of sexual transmission, we stop judging those who struggle and start supporting them. We stop spreading fear and begin spreading clarity. We stop isolating people and start lifting them. Education replaces stigma with empathy and transforms secrecy into empowerment. Every person, regardless of age or background, deserves the freedom that comes from understanding their own body and their own health. This freedom allows us to make choices rooted in awareness, not assumption. It encourages us to speak openly with our partners, our peers, and our children. It helps us build relationships where trust is strengthened by honesty and protection is seen as a shared responsibility. In the end, knowledge is not simply information, it is liberation. It frees us from the chains of misinformation, from the danger of unprepared decisions, and from the silence that has harmed too many lives. When we choose to learn, we choose life. When we choose to understand, we choose a safer future. And when we share that understanding with others, we become protectors of our communities and guardians of generations to come. Responsibility is not merely a rule we follow, it is a reflection of the strength that lives within us. In every moment of our lives, we are given choices, some easy, some difficult, and some that define the very direction of our future. When it comes to our health and the health of those we care about, responsibility becomes more than a personal decision. It becomes an act of courage, a stand we take to protect our dignity and the well-being of our community. There is a misconception that responsibility is restrictive, that it limits our freedom or makes life more complicated. But true responsibility has the opposite effect. It expands our freedom by allowing us to live without fear or regret. It gives us clarity in moments of uncertainty and purpose in moments of challenge. When we choose to act responsibly in matters of sexual health, by using protection, by getting tested, by having honest conversations, we are not surrendering our freedom. We are reinforcing it. We are saying to the world, my life has value, my health has meaning, and I will honor both. It takes courage to take these steps. It takes courage to walk into a clinic and ask for a test. It takes courage to speak openly with a partner about safety. It takes courage to admit what we do not know and seek guidance. But courage does not exist in the absence of fear. It rises in spite of it. Every responsible action is a quiet, powerful victory over the fear that tries to hold us back. And each time we choose responsibility, we strengthen not only ourselves, but everyone whose life intersects with ours. Responsibility is also a form of respect. Respect for our own bodies and respect for the people who share our lives. When we protect ourselves, we protect others. When we understand our health, we help others understand theirs. A community built on responsible choices becomes a community where trust can grow, where safety becomes a shared priority, and where people can live without the shadows of avoidable harm. Our actions extend far beyond our own lives. They ripple outward, touching friends, partners, families, and future generations. In choosing responsibility, we also break cycles of misinformation and silence. Too many people suffer not because they acted recklessly, but because they were never taught, never guided, or never encouraged to ask questions. Your responsible choices, your courage, can become a light for those who feel lost or uncertain. You show them that it is possible to protect oneself without shame, to seek help without fear, and to make choices rooted in wisdom rather than impulse. Ultimately, responsibility is not a burden. It is a gift we give to ourselves. It is a declaration that our lives matter deeply and that we deserve to live with strength, dignity, and hope. When we choose acts of responsibility in sexual health, we are not only guarding our bodies, we are shaping a safer, wiser, more compassionate world. Silence has a way of building walls between people, walls of fear, walls of shame, walls of misunderstanding. These walls do not protect us, they confine us. They keep us from seeking help, from asking questions, from sharing our struggles, and from understanding the truths that could save lives. When we talk about sexual transmission, it is often wrapped in discomfort and secrecy. Yet it is this very silence that allows danger to grow unnoticed. Breaking that silence is not an act of rebellion. It is an act of liberation. When we choose to speak openly about sexual health, we begin to dismantle the stigma that surrounds it. Stigma thrives in darkness, feeding on myths and assumptions. It convinces people that they should hide, that they should be ashamed, that they should endure their fears alone. But no human being should ever have to walk alone in confusion or suffering simply because society has made a topic taboo. Each time someone speaks honestly, each time someone asks a sincere question, each time someone seeks help without hesitation, a piece of that stigma crumbles. And with every piece that falls, more people gain the courage to speak their truth as well. Ending stigma is not just about offering information, it is about offering compassion. It requires us to replace judgment with understanding, to choose empathy instead of condemnation. When someone struggles with an infection, they do not need blame. They need support. They need clarity, encouragement, and a reminder that their worth is not defined by a medical condition. A society that condemns people for their struggles is a society that pushes them deeper into silence. But a society that listens, guides, and understands is one that helps its people heal. Talking openly about sexual health also gives power back to individuals. It enables them to make informed decisions, to prepare themselves, and to protect thy partners. When conversations become normal, education becomes accessible. Young people grow up with knowledge instead of confusion. Adults build relationships rooted in trust instead of fear, and families learn to guide one another with wisdom instead of avoidance. This openness becomes a foundation for healthier communities, where prevention becomes natural and seeking help becomes a sign of strength, not weakness. We must acknowledge that breaking silence takes courage. For generations, these topics were hidden, portrayed as shameful or improper. But progress has always required brave voices, voices willing to step forward and say, we deserve better. We deserve truth. We deserve health. When you raise your voice, you do more than speak, you inspire. You set an example for others who have been waiting for someone to lead the way. You show them that there is no shame in seeking answers, no weakness in asking for help, and no dishonor in caring for your own health. By ending stigma and encouraging open dialogue, we create an environment where people feel safe, safe to learn, safe to ask, safe to grow. And in that safety, lives are saved, futures are protected, generations are strengthened. The courage to speak today becomes the protection of tomorrow. Through openness, we build not only knowledge, but hope. Sexual health is not solely an individual matter. It is a responsibility that touches every corner of our communities. Every choice we make about our bodies, every decision about protection or testing reverberates far beyond ourselves. It affects our partners, our families, and the very fabric of the society in which we live. When we begin to see sexual health as a collective duty rather than a private concern, we open the door to a future where prevention, care, and understanding become shared victories. No one stands alone in this fight, and no one should ever feel that their actions are meaningless. Every informed decision contributes to the safety and well-being of those around us. Families are the first line of defense and the first source of guidance. Parents, guardians, and elders have the power to shape attitudes, impart knowledge, and encourage open conversations about sexual health. When these discussions are approached with honesty and compassion, they provide young people with the understanding and confidence they need to make safe choices. Families that embrace this responsibility foster trust, reduce fear, and empower their children to act responsibly and seek help when needed. In doing so, they plant the seeds for a generation that understands that protecting oneself is also a way of protecting others. Communities, too, play a vital role in safeguarding sexual health. Schools, neighborhoods, faith-based organizations, and local leaders all have the power to educate, inform, and create environments where prevention is normalized and stigma is reduced. Community programs, awareness campaigns, and open dialogue transform isolated efforts into coordinated action. When people see that the well-being of one person affects the well-being of everyone, they are more likely to act with care, encourage testing, and support responsible behavior. A community that stands together in knowledge and compassion becomes a shield against the spread of infection. A network of support where people feel safe to ask questions, access services, and make informed choices. Leadership is also a cornerstone of collective responsibility. Leaders who speak openly about sexual health, who prioritize education and resources, and who model responsible behavior inspire their communities to do the same. Policies, public awareness campaigns, and community initiatives driven by thoughtful leadership create a culture of care, accountability, and prevention. When leaders understand that sexual health is not a private issue, but a societal one, they empower every individual to take part in a shared mission of protection and well-being. Unity transforms responsibility from a burden into a source of strength. When families educate, communities support, and leaders guide, prevention becomes a shared victory. Each person who makes informed choices, each parent who teaches with compassion, each organization that spreads awareness contributes to a collective shield that protects everyone. Sexual health, when approached as a communal effort, becomes more than an individual act. It becomes a testament to the power of care, compassion, and unity. Together, we can build communities where knowledge, responsibility, and empathy ensure that every person has the opportunity to live safely, confidently, and with dignity. Most sexually transmitted infections are not inevitable, they are preventable. This truth is both simple and profound, for it reminds us that the power to protect ourselves lies within our own hands. Prevention is not merely a set of actions, it is a mindset, a commitment to living with intention and awareness. Every choice we make, from using protection to seeking regular testing, is a declaration that we value our lives, our health, and the futures of those we love. By embracing prevention, we refuse to leave our well-being to chance. We refuse to let ignorance or hesitation dictate our destiny. Awareness is the first step toward prevention. Knowledge about how infections spread, how protection works, and how to recognize warning signs equips us to act decisively. It removes fear from the unknown and replaces it with clarity and confidence. When we understand the risks, we no longer stumble blindly, we move forward with purpose. This awareness empowers not just individuals, but entire communities. In people share knowledge openly. They create a ripple effect, spreading protection and understanding to those who might otherwise remain vulnerable. Awareness is the seed from which prevention grows, and it is the most reliable shield we have against the dangers of ignorance and silence. Taking preventive action requires courage. It is not always easy to confront our vulnerabilities, to admit that we need guidance, or to have conversations that feel uncomfortable. Yet it is precisely in these acts of courage that we find our strength. Choosing to use protection, to get tested, to seek advice from health professionals. These are not signs of fear or weakness, they are signs of empowerment. Each step toward prevention is a conscious choice to take control of our lives and safeguard our health. Courage, in this sense, is a daily practice that transforms knowledge into action and intention into reality. Prevention is also an act of care for others. Our choices affect more than ourselves. When we act responsibly, we protect the people around us, our partners, our families, our communities. Every individual who commits to awareness and safe practices contributes to a larger culture of health and respect. Prevention becomes not only a personal duty, but a shared responsibility, a demonstration of empathy and solidarity that strengthens the bonds between people. Acting with intention, we ensure that the consequences of our choices are guided by care rather than negligence. Hope is born from prevention. The knowledge and actions we embrace today shape a healthier tomorrow. No one is doomed by the past, and no mistake is final. Every person has the ability to rewrite their story, to replace uncertainty with understanding, and to live with purpose and dignity. By prioritizing prevention, we create a world in which sexually transmitted infections are not a source of fear or shame, but a challenge that can be met with courage, wisdom, and collective responsibility. Every small choice matters. Every action counts, and every person has the power to build a safer, brighter future for themselves and for those they love.